Jason Momoa built a fortune of over $40 million from playing Aquaman, but in 2023, people were shocked to learn that he wasn't living in his mansion anymore. He was sleeping in a van parked outside. That wasn't even the strangest part. Court documents revealed disturbing stories from movie sets, and leaked therapy notes during a legal case exposed details that completely changed how people saw him. The man the world admired as a hero had secrets much darker than anyone expected. Jason Momoa was born in August 1979, but even before he could talk, his family was already falling apart. His parents separated when he was only 6 months old. His father, Joseph, was a Hawaiian painter who had grown up in poverty, living in a small metal hut in Waimea, Hawaii. His mother, Connie, was a photographer from a small white town in Iowa. They came from completely different worlds, and they couldn't adjust to each other's way of life. Joseph couldn't handle the cold, quiet life in Iowa, and Connie couldn't get used to Hawaii. When they divorced, Jason stayed with his mother in Iowa, far away from the ocean his father loved so much. That distance between them never truly healed. His father would visit sometimes, but rarely, and Jason often wondered why his dad felt so distant even when he was physically there. Growing up in Norwalk, Iowa was hard. Jason looked different from everyone else around him. His skin was darker, his features were Hawaiian, and the other kids constantly reminded him he didn't fit in. There were only about 100 students in his class, and he was one of the few who wasn't white. He got bullied for how he looked, for his sandals, and even for his hobbies. He loved skateboarding and rock climbing, activities most of his classmates didn't understand. Kids stuffed him into lockers, mocked his appearance, and called him names. When he visited Hawaii during the summers to reconnect with his roots, he thought he'd finally feel accepted. But there too, people called him haole, meaning outsider. He didn't belong fully anywhere. He felt like he was stuck between two worlds, too Hawaiian for Iowa and too white for Hawaii. Still, he pushed through and graduated high school in 1997 at just 16 years old. During that time, he played soccer with another boy named Brandon Ruth. Nobody in their small town could have guessed that both boys would one day become global superheroes, Jason as Aquaman and Brandon as Superman. Back then, their high school team never even made it to the state tournament. It's strange how two kids from such an ordinary place could grow up to become icons of two rival universes. After graduation, Jason wanted to become a marine biologist. He loved the ocean deeply and even took advanced biology classes while still in high school. He began studying at a local college in Iowa before transferring to the University of Hawaii. But everything changed in 1998 when he was 19. He was working part-time at a surf shop when a fashion designer noticed him. That moment changed everything. Within a year, he was named Hawaii's Model of the Year in 1999, and even walked for Louis Vuitton. Later, he admitted that he had lied during his audition to get noticed. He said he had modeled for top fashion brands, but it wasn't true. The lie worked, and it opened doors that would lead him far from science. That same year, he heard about auditions for Baywatch, Hawaii. Over 2,000 people showed up. Jason waited 7 hours for his turn. He had no acting experience, no resume, just his good looks and confidence. Something about his energy stood out, and the producers picked him. Overnight, he went from folding shirts in a surf shop to starring as a lifeguard on television. He stayed on the show from 1999 to 2001, learning how to act on set even though he was terrified and kept forgetting lines. When Baywatch ended, things got hard again. He moved to Los Angeles with barely any money. No agent would sign him, and he couldn't find work for nearly 4 years. He waited tables in Colorado, slept on friends' couches, and watched bills pile up. The Baywatch label that once helped him now became a curse. People didn't take him seriously as an actor. In 2003, he starred in Baywatch, Hawaiian Wedding, hoping it would revive his career. But the movie flopped and critics hated it. Crushed, Jason thought about quitting acting altogether to return to studying wildlife biology. Between 2001 and 2004, his life hit rock bottom. He was in debt, struggling to make house payments, and taking whatever small jobs he could to survive. His luck started to turn in 2004 when he got a role in the TV show North Shore. It wasn't huge, but it gave him a little hope. That same year, while surfing near Pahi, known for its giant waves, his surfboard leash snapped, and he was swept nearly a mile from shore. He could barely move his arms and thought he would drown. Somehow, he made it back alive, but the experience haunted him. Unfortunately, North Shore didn't last long. The network had invested over $40 million in the show, but ratings were bad. After only 21 episodes, it was canceled in 2005. Jason felt lost again. He tried acting in a comedy film called Johnson Family Vacation, but it didn't help his career. People still saw him as just the big Hawaiian guy, not a serious actor. Tired of being typecast, Jason reinvented himself. He started training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and created a brutal workout routine called the AR-7 program. 7 sets, 7 reps, and only 7 seconds of rest between. He trained constantly, often 3 times a day, focusing on different body parts each day. He got injured many times, but he never stopped. All that effort paid off when he joined Stargate Atlantis in 2005, playing the fierce warrior Ronan Dex. He had no martial arts background but insisted on doing all his own stunts. He trained with stunt coordinator James Bamford for months, learning sword fighting and combat. He even bruised his ribs badly, but kept it secret because he didn't want to lose the role. By the end of the season, people were stunned by how believable he was as a warrior. Jason's passion made him both admired and feared. During one episode, he pushed himself so hard that he collapsed from exhaustion and had to be treated by paramedics. His co-star Joe Flanagan later said Jason was brilliantly unhinged. Behind the scenes, though, there was constant tension. Jason fought with writers about his character's dialogue, insisting that Ronan was a man of few words. He refused to perform long scripts and even threatened to quit unless they respected his vision. Eventually, they did, but his personal life was chaotic. In 2007, he started dating someone from the crew, and his late-night partying began to affect his work. He'd show up tired or hungover, causing filming delays. The crew even had to reschedule shoots around him, adding thousands of dollars in costs. Everything changed when he met Lisa Bonet later that year. She told him bluntly to change his behavior or lose everything. Even after Stargate Atlantis ended in 2008, Jason's financial struggles continued. He earned about $30,000 per episode, but by 2009, he was broke. He mismanaged his money, had no savings, and had to borrow from his mother to afford new headshots and auditions. He even moved back to Iowa and slept in his childhood bedroom on a small bed. Then came the audition that changed his life. Game of Thrones. Jason didn't know much about the show but decided to perform a traditional Mari Haka during the audition. It was so intense that the casting team was speechless. That performance landed him the role of Khal Drogo. On set, Jason's intensity sometimes went too far. During one scene, he accidentally broke a stuntman's arm. In another film years later, he was knocked unconscious during a fight scene. He hated using doubles or CGI and insisted on doing dangerous scenes himself. At Comic-Con in 2011, he made an offhand joke about enjoying playing violent scenes, which resurfaced years later during the Me Too movement and caused huge backlash. He quickly apologized, saying he was ashamed, and started therapy to understand the impact of his words. Filming Drogo's death scene left him emotionally drained. It took 12 hours to shoot, and the realism made everyone on set uncomfortable. When it was finally over, Jason broke down in tears. After Game of Thrones, fame came fast, but money didn't. Fans treated him like a real warlord, and he started having nightmares and panic attacks. Despite global fame, he was still broke and sometimes slept in a rented van. In 2011, he took on Conan the Barbarian, training hard and gaining massive muscle, but the movie bombed. He poured months of painful effort into the role, getting injured constantly, only for the film to fail. In 2014, Jason decided to take control. He wrote, directed, and funded his own film, Road to Paloma, spending over $600,000 of his own money. It barely made a profit but helped him express his pain and identity. That same year, he starred in The Red Road, which faced controversy from native tribes for misrepresentation. Despite being part native Hawaiian and Pawnee, critics said the show failed to include real community voices. It was canceled after 2 seasons. By 2013, Jason was living in a van again, not as a choice, but because he had no money. He told a magazine that he and Lisa were struggling to feed their kids. While his family stayed in Los Angeles, he lived on the road. He said it helped him escape the pressure, but really it was just survival. Then came a surprising opportunity. In 2014, he auditioned for Batman v Superman. He didn't think he had a chance, but he gave a raw, emotional performance that impressed Zack Snyder. That moment would lead him to become Aquaman, a role that finally turned Jason Momoa from a struggling actor into a global superstar. But behind the fame, the man who once slept in a van carried every scar, every rejection, and every lesson from a lifetime of fighting to stay afloat. When Zack Snyder first saw Jason Momoa's audition, he immediately knew he had found something special. Jason had come in hoping for the role of Batman, but Zack had a different idea. He offered him something unexpected: Aquaman. Jason was stunned. Aquaman had always been seen as a clean-cut blonde comic book hero, but Snyder wanted to change that. He imagined a powerful, rugged, tattooed Aquaman with long hair and deep roots in the ocean. Jason hesitated at first. He couldn't believe that Hollywood would accept a brown-skinned Aquaman from Hawaii. But Snyder had faith in him, and Jason decided to take the chance that would change his life. Filming for Justice League in 2017 was far from smooth. Snyder had to step away after a terrible family tragedy, and Joss Whedon was brought in to finish the movie. Almost everything was rewritten, and only about 10% of Snyder's original work remained. Jason later said that the reshoots felt completely different from the movie they had started making. The tone, the energy, and even the characters felt off. When the film was finally released, it made around $657 million, which sounded like a lot, but with a production cost of about $300 million, it was considered a disappointment. Fans demanded to see Snyder's original version, and after years of pressure, HBO Max finally released the 4-hour Snyder Cut in 2021. Jason didn't shoot anything new for it. All his scenes had already been filmed years before. He was surprised people thought it was new footage because that was always the movie Zack Snyder wanted to make. The Snyder Cut became one of the most streamed films on HBO Max that year, and it reignited Jason's career. Then came Aquaman in 2018, and it blew everyone away. The movie made over $152 billion worldwide, becoming one of DC's biggest hits ever. But behind the scenes, things weren't as bright. Jason and his co-star Amber Heard reportedly didn't get along. During her 2023 trial, Amber claimed Jason came to set drunk and dressed like Johnny Depp. Warner Brothers quickly denied her claims, saying Jason was always professional, but many believed there was real tension between them. Despite the drama, the movie's success made Jason one of Hollywood's top stars. However, when the sequel, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, arrived, it struggled. Production was chaotic, full of delays and reshoots, and the movie cost over $215 million to make. Several cameos were filmed and then removed, and 6 different companies worked on the visual effects. When it finally hit theaters, it made only $440 million, less than half of what the first film earned. It was a harsh reminder for Jason that success in Hollywood could disappear just as quickly as it came. Around the same time, Jason took on a new challenge: the role of Duncan Idaho in Dune, 2021. Filming took place in the Wadi Rum Desert in Jordan, a landscape so vast and dry that locals called it the Valley of the Moon. The heat soared to 120 degrees, and the crew could only shoot for a few hours each day to avoid heat exhaustion. Jason had to sprint across sand dunes, covered in layers of heavy clothing. He later admitted it was one of the hardest shoots of his life. Director Denis Villeneuve refused to use fake backdrops. He wanted the cast to truly feel the desert's endlessness. During breaks, Jason would record short videos of the wind and the sky, just to remember the feeling of being there. It was brutal, but it made him fall in love with filmmaking all over again. In 2023, he surprised fans again when he appeared in Fast X as the villain Dante. During one intense chase scene in Rome, Jason decided to do his own motorcycle stunts. The streets were slick with rain, and the cobblestones were like ice, but he went for it anyway. Producers watching the footage thought it was a stunt double doing the scene, but it turned out to be Jason himself. He hadn't told anyone. When they found out, they were shocked. If anything had gone wrong, the entire production could have been shut down, costing millions. But that's who Jason was. He wanted everything to feel real, no matter the risk. That commitment made Dante one of his most memorable roles. Not all of Jason's work was big-budget superhero movies. In 2016, he starred in The Bad Batch, a strange and haunting film that premiered at the Venice Film Festival. It was set in a dusty dystopian desert and filmed for only $6 million. Jason played a terrifying cannibal named Miami Man, acting alongside Keanu Reeves and Jim Carrey. The movie was dark, quiet, and brutal. It showed a different side of Jason, one that critics praised. He wasn't just a muscular action hero, he could play complex, unsettling roles too. Then came Braven, a small but powerful film he co-produced in 2018. The story was about a simple man trying to protect his family from drug traffickers in the snowy mountains of Canada. Jason didn't just act, he helped produce and shape the movie. Filming in freezing weather was exhausting. The wind was so sharp it burned the skin, and he often had to perform stunts in icy conditions. But the effort paid off. The film earned strong reviews and proved that Jason could carry a movie on his own without relying on CGI or a massive studio budget. In 2019, Jason showed his fun side when he voiced a Lego version of Aquaman in the Lego Movie 2. He even joked about himself, shouting his famous, "My man!" line from Justice League. It reminded fans that he didn't take his fame too seriously and could laugh at his superhero image. But trouble wasn't far away. In 2024, controversy struck again. A popular YouTuber named Valkyrie claimed that during filming for the Minecraft movie in New Zealand, Jason had yelled at crew members late at night. She said it was hard to watch. The story exploded online, and soon, Jason Momoa too started trending. People were furious, but when the movie was released in 2025, Valkyrie's cameo had mysteriously disappeared. Some thought it was revenge. Others said it was just bad timing. Jason never commented directly, but the story left a mark. Meanwhile, Jason was focused on his dream project, Chief of War for Apple TV+. It was a massive series about Hawaii's unification in the 1700s, a story close to his heart. The budget was enormous, around $340 million, and Jason wasn't just the star. He was also a co-creator and director of the final episode. But behind the scenes, problems started to grow. There were fights over money and disagreements about hiring more native Hawaiian cultural advisors. Filming had to move from Hawaii to New Zealand, and that upset many locals who felt the show should have been shot on its homeland. Later, reports claimed that the total cost, including post-production, might have reached $575 million, making it one of the most expensive shows ever made. Despite the setbacks, Jason stayed committed. At the end of 2024, he posted a mysterious message on Instagram. They called. Fans quickly figured out what it meant. He had been officially cast as Lobo in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, set for release in June 2026. Lobo was one of his favorite comic book characters, a wild, violent anti-hero. Jason said it was his dream role, calling it the perfect fit. Early scripts were so intense that the studio worried about getting a PG-13 rating, but Jason didn't care. He wanted it raw, bold, and unforgettable. At the same time, he was working on another strange project called Animal Friends, a part animated, part live-action road trip film with Ryan Reynolds and Aubrey Plaza. Filming wrapped in Bulgaria in 2024, but when the script leaked in early 2025, fans were shocked by how adult the humor was. The jokes were crude and risky, and the studio delayed the release several times, possibly to protect Jason's family-friendly image. In November 2024, another storm hit when fake investment ads began spreading online. Scammers were using Jason's name and photo to promote Hawaiian real estate deals. Jason quickly spoke out, warning fans that it was all fake. Then he revealed something few people knew. In 2024, he had personally donated $12 million to protect native Hawaiian lands. He also reminded fans that he had become a United Nations advocate for ocean conservation, fighting for life below water. His company, Mananalu, had been donating money to clean the oceans, and he even joined protests to stop construction on sacred Hawaiian sites. While his professional life was full of challenges and triumphs, Jason's personal life had its own pain. He met Lisa Bonet in 2005, and their connection was instant. By 2007, their daughter Lola was born, followed by their son Nakoa Wolf in 2008. They married quietly in 2017 after more than a decade together. But exactly 3 years later, on their wedding anniversary in 2020, they quietly separated. They didn't tell anyone for over a year. When Lisa officially filed for divorce in January 2024, it ended peacefully. No money requested, no fights in court. They agreed on joint custody of their kids, who were now teenagers. Not long after, Jason was seen with actress Isa Gonzalez. They seemed happy at first, but their relationship didn't last. Isa found it difficult to handle Jason's adventurous, constantly on-the-road lifestyle. She wanted stability, and he wanted freedom. They tried again briefly, but eventually went their separate ways. By 2023, fans were surprised to learn that Jason was living in a van. Not a regular van, but a $750,000 luxury one parked outside his old house. He said he felt more at peace being close to nature, calling it a spiritual choice. Some fans loved his simplicity, while others called it fake. For Jason, it was personal. Before fame, he had lived in vans during tough times, even while filming in Ireland. To him, it was a reminder to stay humble. But then, darker stories began to surface. In 2023, therapist notes from Dr. Dawn Hughes appeared during the Aquaman 2 controversy. The notes suggested Jason showed up drunk on set, acted like Johnny Depp, and wanted Amber Heard fired. The alleged dates matched the film's production schedule in 2021. Warner Brothers denied everything, saying Jason was always professional, but the accusations added fuel to old controversies. People remembered his 2011 Comic-Con joke, when he had said he enjoyed Game of Thrones because he got to rape beautiful women. He had apologized years ago, but in the age of social media, nothing stays buried forever. Through it all, Jason Momoa remained one of Hollywood's most fascinating figures. A man of contradictions. A hero who once lived in a van. A superstar who gave away millions to save his homeland. A performer who risked his life for authenticity. His story wasn't just about fame and movies. It was about survival, pain, redemption, and the endless fight to stay true to himself in a world that constantly tried to reshape him.